Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Pitchside Podcast channel and the Pitchside Podcast. I am your host, the HOD of the BSB. Like, share, as usual, most importantly, subscribe to the channel if you're new, enable notifications to receive all the updates from this podcast and other content on the channel. Follow us on social media and website, PSB on Twitter, Pitchside Pod on Instagram. The links are in the description, and of course, listen to this on Spotify, Google Podcasts, or any other platform available. There is a lot to talk about actually from yesterday, but let's start with some quick news roundup, mixed really with some action of course. And we start from Italy as Juventus managed to defeat Napoli 2-0 in the Supercoppa Italiana. For some reason it was named the PS5 Super Cup. I know they're sponsoring and stuff, but come on, not to this degree. Of course, Andrea Pirlo claiming his first piece of silverware as Juventus coach after Juventus defeated Napoli 2-0 in the Reggio Emilia stadium. Cristiano Ronaldo and Alvaro Morata got La Vecchia Signora's 2 goals later on in the game. Of course, Ronaldo 64th minute, Morata 95th minute. Of course, in between, Napoli missed a penalty by Lorenzo Insigne, which is, about the biggest highlight you'd expect from Napoli in this game. Again, the importance of this match is, of course, the fact that Andrea Pirlo got to win his first silverware of the season, and of course, in the same game, Cristiano Ronaldo became the all-time leading goal scorer in football history, officially scoring his 760th goal, passing the official number of Pelé of 759 already, although, Pelé would tell you that they're not 759, they are 1,281 or something like that. I mean, he will try to count all the goals that he scored in friendlies and in street football. I don't know, goals he scored in FIFA, probably. Who knows? Moving on, and from Italy to Spain, and it's the shock of the night in Spain, the talk probably of the week in Spain, as Real Madrid went on to Alcoyano and got beaten. And they don't just get beaten; they get remontaded. If this could be a word really. Militao scored the 45th goal. 45th minute goal for Real Madrid to open the scoring, and we thought, well, alright, Real Madrid are going to be leading this game, and it wasn't like a half game. This was a game where Real Madrid entered with the first steamers. Like there was, Marcelo, Kroos, Casemiro, there was, Vasquez, there was Asensio later on, Hazard later on, Benzema was introduced later on. So this was a game where Real Madrid played with their first steamers, and they didn't get the job done against Alcoyano, who, their goalkeeper was terrific. I mean, their goalkeeper was incredible throughout the whole game. Managed to save a lot of shots in the regular time, and of course allowing them to make a comeback. The goal, first of all, the equaliser for Alcoyano, was a pretty stupid goal. Like, it was a very stupid mistake for someone like Real Madrid that Alcoyano are supposed to be making these kind of mistakes on the set pieces. I mean, they are third division really. Their players are not really that professional, but Real Madrid were the ones to make that mistake from the corner, and Vinicius Jr. with a bad mistake, allowing the player from Alcoyano to equalise, José Solbes, allowing him to equalise in the 80th minute. And not just that, but also Ramon Lopez from Alcoyano got sent off. So Alcoyano ended the game and played the extra time, the last 10 minutes of the extra time, with 10 men. Still, they are the ones who scored the second goal by Juanan Gomez, and it is 2-1 Alcoyano. Real Madrid are eliminated out of the Copa del Rey in the round of 16 in a very, very dramatic fashion. This is going to just add more pressure on Zinedine Zidane already. After exiting from the Super Cup at the hands of Athletic Bilbao, this is just going to pile more pressure over Zinedine Zidane, and really would put him in a hard position with the board of the club and with the fans, probably. Moving on, and to some, seriously, some general news, to be fair. Of course, Cuadrado recovering officially from COVID-19. That's, I think, a good news, and obviously the fact that he featured in last night's game was, I think, a clear got evidence of that. To Milan, of course, where they signed Mario Mandzukic. Finally, they managed to, to add an experienced striker in their attack. Of course, the deal has been going sort of on and off for a while, really, but the signing of Mario Mandzukic has gone ahead now, and certainly he said that he's relishing the partnership with Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Like, I don't think they will play together exactly. I don't think there's any room for someone like him alongside Ibrahimovic. Like, it's one or the other, let's be fair. I mean, it's going to be really rare, the chances that they will play with both Mandzukic and Ibrahimovic together. 34-year-old. He really, I think he wants that partnership, but probably it's not going to happen that quickly. Arsenal agreeing to terminate the contract of defender Socrates Papastatopoulos. Of course, hasn't started the game since March when he was injured against Chelsea. He failed to make Arsenal's Premier League and Europa League squads this season and has been frozen out by Mikel Arteta, just like Mesut Ozil was, and eventually his deal was set to expire this summer, so the centre-back agreed to end his time earlier than planned, terminate the contract, with Edu saying, on behalf of Mikel, our coaches and the players, I would like to thank Papadopoulos for the contribution for the club, and of course wish him well in his future endeavours, something like that. Moving on, and to finish our pieces of news, and to Victor Font. I don't know if this might surprise you or not, but I think he said Barcelona cannot attempt to sign Mbappe as there is no money. First of all, what is a surprise in this? Who actually told you to sign Mbappe? Who demanded to sign Mbappe to Barcelona? Second, everybody knows that there is no money in Barcelona, so this comes as no surprise, really, because I don't think that anybody who knows what's happening in Barcelona or following what's going on in football doesn't know that Barcelona do not have money to spend on Mbappe, or to spend on any player of that ilk, really, not just Mbappe. The rumours were persisting that they were trying to bring Haaland. He himself said that you will bring Haaland if you vote for me, which is a big sway of votes, really. But still, this is kind of crazy. And it's not kind of surprising. It's just crazy to say that. I mean, the other time he said, the other time Juan Laporte said that he missed the chance to sign Cristiano Ronaldo, and now Font saying that Barcelona cannot attempt to sign Mbappe. I don't know why they're throwing these big statements in the air just like that to wind up the Barcelona fans, it seems. But anyway, that's about it, of course. Let's start focusing now more on some league action, and we start in Germany. In the Bundesliga, 4 matches took place yesterday, or 5 matches, took place yesterday. Schalke returned to their losing ways against Cologne, really. They returned actually last week against Eintracht Frankfurt, losing 3-1. And they lost again to Cologne in the 90th minute in a game that they should have won, really. They were the better side. They were the most dominant, I think. They had the game in their hands, but they lost to Cologne 2-1, a fellow relegation contenders. 2 goals from Chicos in the 31st minute, and Thielmann for the 90th minute. Between them, there was a goal from Mathieu Hoppe, the American striker for Schalke, who's really doing well at the moment. He's probably the only light in a really dark era for Schalke at the moment. They barely had a chance to celebrate the fact that they won a game, and with the return of Klaas-Jan Huntelaar, I thought, it's impossible than usual for Klaas-Jan Huntelaar. It's an uphill battle for him to try and save Schalke from relegation, really. Arminia Bielefeld defeating Stuttgart 3-0. This is a result that blew my mind when I saw it, and when I watched the highlights, it didn't. You see Arminia Bielefeld 3-0, and you see their position in the table, not exactly that high, against Stuttgart, a side that is doing well this season, sitting pretty comfortable in the mid-region to upper region of the table, like around 7th to 8th. But Arminia Bielefeld won, and, Arminia Bielefeld winning 3-0 against Stuttgart with this season's sort of circumstances, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. But again, when you watch the game and watch the highlights of the game, you understand that Arminia Bielefeld had a terrific game and probably should have won more than just 3-0. Congratulations to them, of course. This was a game that, they capitalized on an own goal for the second, but still, a goal is a goal. They were they weren't the better side, but they had the most dangerous of chances, and they capitalized on that time on the ball really well. Stuttgart now regressed to 10th on the table with 22 points, and Arminia Bielefeld move up to 15, with 17 points, just ahead of Cologne above them in the bottom of the table. Now Cologne take the relegation playoff spot ahead of Mainz and Schalke, who barely been up than the bottom place in the table more than just 1 week, and they're back down with 7 points. In the rest of the action in the Bundesliga, of course, it was Freiburg drawing 2-2 against Inter Frankfurt. This was an entertaining game, to be fair. Emin Younes opened the scoring inside 6 minutes. Roland Zoloy with a beautiful finish for the equaliser. Schlotterbeck with an own goal in the 75th minute for Frankfurt's equaliser, as Niels Petersen, again from the bench, does the same thing he does against Bayern and scores literally in the same minute, 63 minutes. He scores against Eintracht Frankfurt, make it 2-1 for his club, but again, the unfortunate own goal from Schlotterbeck makes it 2-2 and loses Freiburg 2 crucial points in a game that was really entertaining and really tight, really poised. Freiburg continued to have a great season despite the loss against Bayern, despite the drop of points against Frankfurt. They're really continuing to have a great season. That position on the table is pretty good at 9th, considering that they were pretty low also on the table early on in the season. They could still fight for European places, but it will need a little bit more. Just above them, Eintracht Frankfurt with 27 points. Of course, this victory was the difference, I think, between them at the table, separating them from each other. This draw, allowed them to increase that points to 27 above Freiburg. And of course, the two big games of the week, of course, Bayern Augsburg facing Bayern Munich and RB Leipzig facing Union Berlin. For Bayern Munich, it was hard. It was rough, really. They went to Augsburg, a Bavarian derby. They scored early by Lewandowski, a penalty that I think, people would look at it as contentious, but obviously it's a penalty. Let's not debate it that much. Bayern Munich lost, not lost. Bayern Munich scored a goal early at 13th minute. Lewandowski, they dominated the game. They thought that it was easy. It was almost too easy to believe for Bayern, because Augsburg were not, they weren't quick enough. They weren't technical enough. They didn't try to capitalize on the high line that much. We didn't see a lot of attempts from Augsburg to sneak behind the high line of Bayern or try to play quick balls into the spaces behind the fullbacks or anything like that. They didn't try any sort of that. So it felt too easy for Bayern, but somehow Bayern managed to make it hard for themselves by not scoring, by not killing the game off, and leaving Augsburg with a glorious chance from a penalty. They missed it, however, but a glorious chance from a penalty spot to equalise. It was missed by Finn Bogason, and that was that. And they lived under the edge for the last 10 minutes or so. There's a lot of intensity that has been lost for Bayern, and not intensity in terms of, the stamina, in terms of the pressing. It's intensity in terms of being clinical, being ruthless. They do not come easier than that, these games, because against Augsburg, when you dominate the game, when you have not just more of the possession, you have way more possession, way more shots. You have around 17 shots in the game, yet you still do not convert one of them, aside from a penalty. There were some chances. Lewandowski hit the post, had a couple of shots wide. Gnabry had some chances as well. Neuer had some chances, but certainly Bayern have more in them to score. There are too much quality to not score any of those chances. However, I think I should look at it from a positive spin. A clean sheet for Bayern, finally. And it came against a side that probably you'd expect to have a clean sheet against, despite the scare of the late minutes, but certainly Augsburg again. Not exactly the paciest side in the world, not exactly the most attacking side in the world to expect you to score or something like that. But again, you'll take the clean sheet when it matters. The rotation of the squad is important. Certainly Bayern need to pick up some form. And despite that, the top of the table 4 points ahead of their nearest challengers in RB Leipzig. Speaking of RB Leipzig, they managed to defeat Union Berlin. A hard victory for Leipzig as well. 1-0 against Union Berlin in a game that would, it was really, really entertaining too. I mean, it was similar to Freiburg and Eintracht Frankfurt. Leipzig missed a lot of chances. The problems with their attack and really are persistent. Union Berlin had some opportunities early on in the game, but they faded away as the game went on, and Leipzig, tried a lot and, missed a lot of chances, and Union Berlin's goalkeeper, was incredible in saving a lot of Leipzig opportunities, but eventually Emil Forsberg found the back of the net in the 70th minute, giving Leipzig the all-important win, keeping them behind Bayern at 4 points of difference, and also proven, I think, that they are the challengers this season. Leverkusen are 7 points behind, Dortmund 10 points behind, so there's no chance I think those two would really catch up that quickly, at least in the next couple of weeks. So it's going to be RB Leipzig behind Bayern Munich, and we'll see what's going to be happening in the Bundesliga. In the Bundesliga season. Next fixture is going to be really, really interesting as well. Borussia Mönchengladbach on Friday will face Borussia Dortmund. Arminia Bielefeld on Saturday faced Eintracht Frankfurt. Augsburg host Union Berlin. Mainz host Leipzig. It's going to be Freiburg Stuttgart on Saturday as well. Leverkusen Wolfsburg on Saturday. Hertha Berlin hosting Werder Bremen, and on Sunday it will be Schalke hosting Bayern Munich and Hoffenheim hosting FC Cologne. On to the Premier League now, and despite the fact that there was only 2 games played yesterday, as Leeds Southampton was supposed to take place yesterday, but of course, because Southampton played their FA Cup game against Shrewsbury on Wednesday, it was not supposed on Tuesday. Sorry, it was not supposed to take place, and of course, we start from the Etihad Stadium. It was a late win for Manchester City. They left it really, really late in the last 10 minutes to score twice against Aston Villa to win a very hard game, and a very important win, I think, for City as well. 2-0, that would see them go second, right behind Manchester United at the top of the table. It was a game for City that I think demonstrates again the realistic aspect of Guardiola. Yes, they had a lot of possession, they had a lot of the ball, they had a lot of shots, but also they managed to keep their net shut, and they managed to keep themselves intact enough to score 2 goals and manage to escape with the lead. And in the time where Aston Villa, I think, started to pick up momentum in the second half, Man City were crucial, and they were clinical. The goals coming in from Bernardo Silva and Ilkay Gundogan, beautiful goals, each in their own way, really. In the last 10 minutes, Gundogan from a penalty spot, and Bernardo Silva with a beautiful left-foot finish past Emiliano Martinez. This victory again will mean that City will go second behind Man United, and they're really on some incredible form at the moment. 5 now on the bounce. No, clean sheets, coming frequently for them. It is cloud 9 for Manchester City at the moment. They are realistically now proven that they are the challengers for the title this season, probably alongside Manchester United. Also, we're going to give a shout out to Leicester as well afterwards. Speaking of United, they turned things around in Craven Cottage. It looked hard in the beginning. Ademola Lookman with an early goal that, mistakes defence again. It was defensive mistakes by United, leaving themselves wide open in the midfield and at the back for the pass. Ademola Lookman scoring in the 5th minute, and it was really, really rough for United for the next 15 minutes until Cavani capitalised on a mistake by Alfonso Areola and scored the equaliser. United afterwards, of course, turned on the heat. They managed to capitalise and managed to dominate the game a little bit more, and it was a little bit hard at half-time. They ended all level 1-1 at half-time. It couldn't exactly be any harder for United if they wanted to. Second half was probably the same as well. They managed to score the second goal by Pogba, an outrageous left-foot shot from Paul Pogba, which saw them score the second goal in that game. Brilliant goal, and Paul Pogba is really starting to show some serious form at the moment in the Premier League, which is something that United fans would love to see and would love and would want to see, and they would love to see, because for someone like Paul Pogba, being in form equals them being in title form, and certainly probably looked at that and said, United are playing for the title, I might as well help them win that. So it really shows that he's a really good talent. It's just the fact that it didn't come to his senses. I mean, it took him 4 years to come to his senses with United, but you understand the reason why. I mean, it was a mixture of, manager usage and his own mentality probably distracting him and probably destroying him almost, and his agent Minriola didn't help his case. But now, as he's blossoming into his form, he's now simply undroppable for United. He's as important now as Bruno Fernandes, and certainly with his goal against Burnley coming in a crucial moment, his goal against Fulham coming in a crucial moment, saving them 3 points in games that seriously they could have easily been disappointing draws aside of that. But United now back on track after the disappointing draw against Liverpool, in which everybody I think agreed they deserved to win because they had the most dangerous chances. Now the victory against Fulham proves that, I think, and now they're top of the table, 40 points ahead of 38 for Manchester City, 38 for Leicester as well. I didn't speak about them because I didn't have the chance to. Leicester City, of course, defeating Chelsea on Tuesday to stay up top, to stay up close and personal to the top of the table. Now Leicester are 38 points with City. They are 4 points ahead of Liverpool. United are 6 points ahead of Liverpool. Liverpool now have a game against Burnley on Thursday, and it's an unbelievably a must-win. This is a must-win, as must-win would come. And the problem is, it is not just that. I mean, their game against Burnley, which is at Anfield. Now, this is again a must-win by all means for Liverpool, because if they're going to let the gap slip to more than 6 points, you might as well exclude Liverpool out of the title race this season, because if they're going to be 6 or 7 points, potentially this potentially could be 6 points, and they could still be 6 points from the top by the end of the fixture. So this is, in my opinion, a must-win game for Liverpool, certainly for Klopp, for the players who have been ineffective in the last couple of weeks, and I think for the fans who are really starting to grow frustrated and cut a frustrated figure from the performances of Liverpool as of late, in 4 games, scoring only once, now extended to 5. Now probably could be extended to 5 against a side like Burnley, who defend really well and do not give a lot of chances to you to score. I mean, again, they don't lose more than 1-0 or 2-1. That is the standard thing for Burnley. They only lost once more than 1 goal difference or 2 goal difference. It was against City, and it was 5-0. I think that was an anomaly this season, just like I think the Crystal Palace loss 7-0 to Liverpool was an anomaly, because they don't give as well a lot of room for opportunity, although they lost 4-0 to Manchester City, so there's that. Again, back to Leicester, of course, shout out to them, of course, defeating Chelsea 2-0. They didn't budge, which is something people expected from them around these areas of the season, when we start to get to the 90th and 20th fixture, and we start getting into the business end of the season, and we're starting to see how Leicester are going to be playing in these kind of situations in the business end of the season. They didn't budge. They defeat Chelsea 2-0. It was a game that proved that Brendan Rodgers has a plan for Leicester, while Frank Lampard doesn't have a plan for Chelsea. Brendan Rodgers have a style, while Frank Lampard doesn't, and it just piles a lot of pressure on Frank Lampard now. I'm surprised he isn't sacked really by now, because I'm sure the board is exactly that patient. When I'm saying the board, I say Roman Abramovich, to be more precise. I'm sure he's not that patient with him, so it does exactly bear the question: when is going to be Frank Lampard sacked? It's worth the wait to see if he's going to get sacked or not, but come on, he's 8th now on the table. It's 29 points, 8th in the table, and he has no excuse of games in hand, because they played the games in hand. They played all of their fixtures. Aston Villa, with 3 games in hand, they could easily, overjump them, and they would shoot straight into the top 5 or top 6 of the table. So probably they will give them a last chance. I don't know. Maybe they will have a meeting, have some sort of reunion of sorts. They will try and tell him, okay, top 4 spot. If you don't get top 4 spot this season, you're sacked. Whatever your results elsewhere are going to be, even if you get the final of the Champions League, if you don't get the top 4 finish this season, probably going to be sacked. That's, I think, the last. That's the ultimatum that Roman Abramovich would give Lampard at the moment. On the other hand, Leicester City are absolutely incredible. The fact is, everybody expected them again to dip in form around this time of the season, and it was around this time of the season last season where they really dropped some crucial points. Losing to Liverpool, losing to Leicester, losing to Manchester City, and falling in form significantly in the second half of the season. So they barely finished 5th for a Europa League spot, in which they're doing well at the moment. They're qualified for the next round. So for Leicester, I think this season should be the season where they compete for the title, because they're not considered minnows anymore. Again, they are considered now a legitimate top club in England, a legitimate top contender. They forced their way into the game by their play, by their performances, by the way they play. And under Brendan Rodgers, I would say this Leicester City under Brendan Rodgers is more, prolific and more ruthless and, more clinical and probably more cohesive than the Leicester that won the title. I don't want to dismiss a lot of players in that squad, because Jamie Vardy was a part of that squad, Riyad Mahrez was part of that squad, N'Golo Kante, Danny Drinkwater. Who knows what happened to Danny Drinkwater, by the way? I heard that he was, chipped out from Chelsea after his failed spell at that club, really. People probably forget that he played for Chelsea. I remember. The fact was that, Leicester City were probably more of a defensive / counter-attack team at the time when they won the title, really. It wasn't exactly like they were playing the most, tiki-taka style of football, but now under Brendan Rodgers, they're playing more cohesive style of football. They have a proper squad, and, some of their players are just incredible this season. Wesley Fofana, talk about great defenders. He just come on from Saint-Etienne this season, and, the French media, or the French supporters at Saint-Etienne, to be more precise, they were loathing him for leaving the club this early in his career, and at 19 years of age, and everybody was questioning how he's going to be adapting to the Premier League, and he's adapting, and he's really doing well. I think probably under Ruben Dias, I would say he's the best defender in the Premier League, and I know that might be a stretch, but I think Ruben Dias is now the best defender in the Premier League, and behind him I would say Wesley Fofana, certainly Wesley Fofana, because that guy, again, the way he's adapting, the way he's coping with the Premier League, the way he's performing in the Premier League. The transition from League A to the Premier League and the difference in level is really big, and the contrast is stark. So you don't expect someone like him to be successful, but he is successful, and he's doing really well. So probably with guys like him in the squad, with guys like James Justin, with guys like Castagna and Didi and Tielemans in the midfield, Maddison is really doing well and back to his top form. Jamie Vardy is still banging and still scoring goals. Albrighton, what used to be a utility player really in the previous couple of seasons, now he's all of a sudden becoming a starter. Harvey Barnes bursting on the scene, the youngster. Really, I remember his debut against Wolves a couple of years ago. In that, I think it was 4-3. I think it ended 4-3 for Wolves at the Molineux, and his debut was awesome. He scored twice, and the future was his. And he dipped away last season, but now I think he is a starter and he's a proper first teamer in the Leicester squad. He's probably their best player, I think, by a big margin, but quite not big margin, small margin really. That's what I want to say really. Overall, Premier League race is on. That is what you need to know. Finally, we have a proper race, and not just any race. It's a 4-horse race. If you include Tottenham, potentially, you have some couple of games, in hand left. I don't know, you could extend this to Liverpool if you so wish, and to Everton and to West Ham if you so wish, again, considering the point tally, but I think it will be concised in these 4. United, City, Leicester, Liverpool. I think that's your top 4, whatever the order may be. I think it will be, I still think Liverpool will win the title. I don't know, I still have that feeling that City are going to be just too inconsistent, and probably they will have a certain drop in form somewhere down the line. United are not guaranteed, despite the fact that they win games and they get points, but they don't perform really well. They don't have enough guarantee to really show you that they will keep winning and they will keep racking points in the Premier League table. As far as Leicester are concerned, I don't know. I mean, they are good. Probably I think in some ways they are more poised and balanced than the other 2 above them, but you don't know exactly what was going to happen in the next couple of months with the Europa League returning for them as well. Liverpool also so inconsistent, but I think it was none of their fault. Injuries really played a certain horrific sort of part in their season so far, losing a lot of players to injuries and to COVID, and they had to scramble a first team. Basically, they had to scramble a starting 11 every time they play because the options were limited. And I think once they get some of their players fit and back, probably we're going to be talking something else. If they get, for example, Gomez and Matip back and they start probably playing them as centre-halves and they return the likes of Fabinho and Henderson to their normal position, then we're probably going to be talking about a proper Liverpool side, and we'll see how they do in this season. So the Premier League table, of course, before we end this episode, Manchester United, as we mentioned, 40 points at the top of the tree in the Premier League table. 38 for City, 38 for Leicester, 34 for Liverpool, 33 for Tottenham, 32 for Everton, 32 for West Ham, 29 Chelsea and Southampton, 27 for Arsenal, 26 for Aston Villa, 23 for Leeds United, Crystal Palace with 23 points as well, 22 for Wolves, 19 for Newcastle, 17 for Brighton, 16 Burnley, 12 for Fulham, 11 for West Brom, and 5 for Sheffield United. And that's it for the episode. Like, share, comment on this video, what you think of this Premier League title race, where it's going to be going. Subscribe to the channel, most importantly, enable notifications if you want to receive all the updates of this channel content. Thank you for watching / listening. Follow me on social media. I'm at PSP on Twitter, PitchSnakePod on Instagram, and of course listen to the podcast on Spotify, Google Podcasts, or any other platform. I was your boy, the HAD of the PSP, and until the next time, I'll see you soon. Goodbye.